Let's return to our top story, which is Israel's defense in South Africa's genocidal intent case for Tel Aviv's military offensive on Gaza. Israel maintains that it's entitled to defend itself following a deadly attack by Hamas on the 7th of October. Well, let's get analysis now from Palestinian lawyer Mohammed Khatib and public interest attorney Richard Spoor. Gentlemen, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Mohammed, let me start off with you. You're speaking to us from the West Bank. I'd like to get an idea of your reaction to South Africa's effort to stop this continued bombardment of Gaza.
Yes, we as the Palestinian people, we are feel very, proud of South Africa and what South Africa is doing. And this is it's not come by coincidence. It's like a legacy of the South African history and, as I said, legacy that I had the chance to meet with Desmond Tutu that you were speaking about. And he came to our village and we hosted him in our house. And from what we heard from him and what we see now, it's the same, the same principles, the same beliefs. And this is all the Palestinian people here in the West Bank and also I assume in Gaza and everyone, even all the people of Palestine everywhere. They are appreciate the effort of South Africa, and we feel that South Africa and the people of South Africa are not only standing with us as Palestinians, but they are standing with the justice and with the humanity, because this is the most important thing now, how to keep our humanity and to keep the justice and the peace. We don't want to kill anyone, and we don't want anyone to kill us. We just want to be equal and to live as anyone else in the world. This is that our message as Palestinian, and what's going on here, this massive killing is just only led to nowhere, led to more complicated of the situation, and to make the harm is more for everyone. So what South Africa is doing, maybe this will not lead to a big thing. We hope that this will stop the war, at least to stop the war, but also just to open this and to speak about this and to debate about this genocide and this legal terms and about what's going on in the ground is something that we feel that at least the international community and the people of the world are still alive and they want to stop this killing.
Now, Richard, Mohammed speaks to the people of the world and what they heard as that case by South Africa unfolded yesterday. 84-page document from what we understand. Let's talk about some of those aspects to that document or to South Africa's case that you heard, that you listened to, and certainly some of the reaction that you might have witnessed from around the world.
Well, as Mohammed points out, I think it was a credit to South Africa. Our presentation yesterday was a credit to South Africa. It shows our commitment to human rights, the rule of law and the rule of international law. It shows our willingness at great political risk to this country to stand up and defend the rights and interests of people who are enduring the most unbelievable hardship. So yes, there's cause to be proud, and I think this has created a lot of focus on both the plight of the Palestinian people and also on the role that international law can play to unlock a solution for this long, drawn-out dispute, because that ultimately is what we seek, and I think South Africa's initiatives are going to help. I also agree with the minister that is understanding that genocide is inexcusable and that self-defense is not an excuse for genocide. It's clear also that the people of Gaza are enduring unbelievable hardship and difficulty as a result of this war by Israel. On today's hearing, though, it's very clear that Israel has a case. I'm not talking about generally and about their treatment of the Palestinians, but they have a case in relation to this application that has been brought by South Africa. What the Israelis contended today, and I should say they did so with dignity, without personal vindictive mud-throwing assaults on the court or on South Africa, was to contend that these appalling circumstances we see in Gaza and these high casualties are attributable to a legitimate war that they are undertaking against Hamas in response to its terrorist attacks on Israel on October the 7th. And where our difficulty is that we are struggling, and I think South Africa will struggle in two respects. One, to persuade the courts that what we are seeing there is attributable to some genocidal intention. The Israelis are adamant that they practice all the rules of warfare and that they conduct themselves responsibly. Our evidence is not necessarily good enough to overthrow that. They also tried today to put in context the statements, the appalling comments of some of its political leaders and said, look, that's not our policy. But perhaps the biggest difficulty we have is what we seek at this time is some kind of provisional interim relief pending a final determination of the complaint. And the main relief we asked for was an end to this war. We want them to stop their aggression in Palestine. But that is clearly going to be a bridge too far. Israel made the point that Hamas continues to attack them, that they have a duty and are conducting a legitimate war, and that if they were ordered to stop the attack, well, that would favor Hamas and prejudice them and prejudice Israelis. And with respect, that argument has merit. Hamas is not a party to these proceedings. Hamas has not undertaken that it will stop its fight against Israel. And a unilateral order that Israel should stop defending itself against Hamas or attacking Hamas will result in a situation where Hamas is free to continue, but Israel not. And I think it's very unlikely that the court will make an order to that effect. So while I was extremely satisfied with South Africa's performance yesterday, Israel raises very solid legal defenses to the specific case that we are making and our case for the very particular relief that we seek. We'll have to see which way the court decides, but it is certainly not one-way traffic. It is a difficult, nuanced matter. What remains positive is what I said at the outset, which is we have stood up for the rights of the Palestinian people. We have expressed their concerns. We brought the international law to bear. We and the Israelis, curiously, give credit to the international legal system, show our respect for it, and thereby create the promise that this system can help to bring about a resolution to this absolutely awful conflict.
Richard, before we bring in Mohammed, had Hamas been involved in the conversation, or certainly aspect of the case that was presented to the ICJ by South Africa, do you think it would have made a difference based on what you've just said a few moments ago?
No, Hamas is not a state. It's not a state party. It's not a signatory to the Genocide Convention. The court has no jurisdiction over it. It has no standing before that court. So it doesn't really have a role in these proceedings. There were no tenders on its part. There was no intervention on its part. But even if there were, I don't believe that this could lead to could significantly influence the outcome. Of course, the Israelis suggested that we were colluding with Hamas, and in this regard, they cited the leadership of Hamas' visit to South Africa a few weeks after the October 7 events, and that is a little embarrassing for us, as are the allegations that before we filed these proceedings, we failed to have a proper engagement with Israel to see if this dispute was in fact a dispute or whether or not it could be resolved. That is also an aspect where I think the South African case has been a little wanting. But I remain hopeful that, on balance, this is good for us, whatever the outcome of this interim stage. And I want to emphasize also that regardless of the outcome of this interim stage, we will have the opportunity to gather more evidence and build our case for against Israel and to support our contentions that it has been engaged in acts of genocide. And we will have an opportunity in the medium to longer term to present this evidence to the courts and to persuade it beyond question that what we've seen today is not just the consequence of lawful acts of self-defense, but something that extends beyond that and is evidence of this genocidal intent that we need to establish.
Mohammed, one of the issues or one of the key elements to Israel's argument is the continued detention of some hostages. I think they make up part of the 250 contingent, if I'm not mistaken, that were held captive on that 7th day of October last year. What is your take on Israel's continued push for the release of those hostages and how this would impact the continued bombardment of Gaza?
When we speak about, the ICJ case, you speak about a lot of technical and a lot of argument and a lot of legal things. But what I want to mention that I live in Palestine. I live under the occupation, and I can see what's going on by my eyes. And I have relatives and I have friends in Gaza who've been they've been arrested from the let's say the civil system, records. The whole family were killed, 70 people, some families 40, some 30, some the whole family, and including journalist families, including journalists, and the situation in the ground, even in the West Bank, when they speak about the attack of the 7th of October that led by Hamas in Israel. But what's going on in the West Bank since all this time that I cannot be safe in the street because they could shoot me just only because I'm Palestinian. And this is the situation that they arrest, they kill, they shoot because we just only because we are Palestinians. This is the genocide. They are targeting us because we are Palestinian, no matter if we are taking part of the resistance or not. And related to the hostage, and we speak about the hostage, also, what happened with the 3 hostages that they were, free, and they went, to the army to get help. They shot them without even try to check, even if they are Israelis and they are Jews. That this shows that the killing is without any differentiation between anyone. They were they did everything. They were naked. They were raising the white flags. And they shot them. So this is also an example and an evidence of the systematic and what the Israelis are trying to do. I'm following the Israeli media and the Israeli leadership, and I speak Hebrew and I can understand what they are saying. From the start of the war, they were announcing that leader, you cannot tell me that they are not decision maker. They are the decision maker. When you speak about the fence, the minister, Gallant, and Ben-Gvir, who's the minister of.
Mohammed, I'm sorry, but we've run short of time, and we're going to have to leave the conversation there, but certainly appreciate your time and speaking to us. That conversation on South Africa's bid at the ICJ to have that continued bombardment of Israel stopped, and speaking to us for analysis, Palestinian lawyer Mohammed Khatib, speaking to us from the West Bank, and public interest attorney Richard Spoor. Gentlemen, appreciate your time.